In this video, we will discuss the essay The Anthropocene, a New Epoch of Geological Time. The impact of human activities on our planet have induced in the climate, land, oceans, and natural world rapid changes on such a large scale that it has led to a significant scientific debate. This debate revolves around the concept of a new geological era called the Anthropocene, which is defined by human influence. Based on current evidence, it appears that the Anthropocene is revealing a global transformation of epochal significance within just the last 2 centuries. In the late 1800s, scientists started realizing just how much humans were affecting the earth. George Perkins Marsh wrote a really important book called Man and Nature about how people were changing the planet. Italian scientist Antonio Stoppani came up with the term Anthropozoic to talk about this time of transformation. As the 1800s ended, scientists like Svante Arrhenius and Thomas Chamberlain began looking at how the amount of carbon dioxide in the air relates to global warming. Arrhenius even suggested that in the future, people might need to warm up the earth a bit to make more land for farming and feed a growing population. In 2002, Paul Crutzen, who won a Nobel Prize, brought back the idea of the Anthropocene. He used it to describe this current time on Earth when a lot of the important processes are controlled by humans. This word quickly became a big part of scientific talk, showing how much the environment is changing because of us. Now, experts are discussing if it should officially be part of the geological timescale. A long time ago, people started using tools which set us apart from other animals. One of the earliest humans, called Homo habilis, or the handy man, lived in Africa about 2 million years ago. Since then, humans have been changing the earth. In the old days, we used our muscles and simple tools mostly for hunting along with fire. We do not find many signs of ancient humans in the rocks from the Ice Age, called the Pleistocene, until later on in the Holocene period. Towards the end of the Ice Age, things started to change a lot. Many big animals, like saber-toothed cats in North America and woolly mammoths in Siberia, started disappearing. This seems to line up with when modern humans showed up. However, it did not happen at the same time everywhere. For example, it happened 50,000 years ago in Australia, but 30,000 years ago in the Americas. Some big animals, like those in Africa and South Asia, are still around, but they are facing threats. Around 11,500 years ago, during the Holocene, we see even more evidence of human activity. People in the Middle East started farming, and over time this spread to Northern Europe. This shift from hunting to farming is clearly shown in the fossil record, like preserved pollen in layers of earth. Also, as people cleared forests for farming, it might have started raising the levels of carbon dioxide in the air long before the Industrial Revolution. After people learned how to farm, they started living in villages and towns. Eventually, big cities popped up in places like Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Pakistan. As time went on, more cities sprouted up in different parts of the world like Europe, Central and South America, and China. Some of them became really advanced by around 1000 BC. This trend of building cities has been speeding up, and in the past, there might have been cities with over 1 million people in the Middle Ages. By the 1800s, cities like London and Paris had that many residents. Nowadays, we have lots of cities with 10 to 20 million people, and they are still growing fast. This boom in city building is a big sign of how much humans are changing the earth. As we have built cities and the structures around us, like dams and farms, we have caused a huge change in how much soil gets washed away and deposited in different places over a long period. It is interesting that even though we have cut down a lot of trees and changed how we use the land, some rivers are being blocked by dams, which stops the flow of that soil out to sea. If we were to stop building things, nature would gradually take back these structures, turning them into ruins over a few centuries. After a few thousand years, maybe all that would be left is bits of concrete and rubble. The signs we leave behind through our actions, like changing the levels of carbon dioxide in the air, might be even more important than the physical structures of our big cities. For example, more carbon dioxide in the air is making the oceans more acidic. This is a big problem for creatures like corals and tiny sea creatures that are important for the food chain. The ocean's acidity has already dropped quite a bit and it is likely to keep going down. This could lead to major changes in the oceans and a drop in biodiversity, which would be really noticeable event in the future's fossil record. The Earth is incredibly old, more than 4.5 billion years to be exact. This enormous stretch of time covers everything from when the Earth first formed to the creation of its oceans and lands, the start of life and the development of all living things up to now. To make it easier to handle such a vast amount of time, scientists break it down into smaller parts. They use terms like aeons, which are hundreds of millions or even billions of years long, eras, which have their own unique set of fossils, like the famous dinosaurs and ammonites from the Mesozoic era that started about 250 million years ago and ended around 66 million years ago. These eras are then divided into periods like the Cambrian and Cretaceous, which might have special types of rock formations such as the chalky layers from the Cretaceous period. These periods are further split into smaller chunks called epochs and ages. We now have a very good understanding of what kinds of fossils can be found in rocks from these shorter time periods. This helps us match up these units of time all around the world and paint a picture of what our planet looked like at hundreds of different points in history. The most recent period, called the Quaternary, only began 2.6 million years ago. It includes two epochs, the Pleistocene and the Holocene. The Holocene, which is the shortest period in the whole geological timescale, started only 11,500 years ago. We know this because we can see changes in climate preserved on ice cores from places like Greenland. The Holocene is actually the latest phase in a series of warmer times that interrupted a much colder period that lasted from the past 2 million years. We call it an epoch mainly for practical reasons because many of the layers of soil, river deposits, deltas, and coastal plains that make up the Earth's surface were formed during this time. Scientists are considering adding a new period called the Anthropocene to the Quaternary period. This would be a big deal because it would be like officially recognizing a new chapter in Earth's history alongside well-known ones like the Carboniferous and Jurassic periods.